All right, seems like you guys are coming in. I hope you guys are having a great Monday. I'm gonna give everybody just a couple more minutes. I know we want to start on time, but I want to make sure everybody gets the good bulk of the message before we get started. How's everybody's Monday going?
Very well.
That
Good.
is great. That's great. Does anybody have, I want to see, does anybody have a joke to tell while we wait for like 30 seconds? Make me laugh. Lisa, you're muted.
I'm
You
saying
don't
to
give,
myself, I've never been good with jokes. Never,
really?
ever. I don't even have a good one connected to memory.
You know what? The fact that I'm thinking about that, I don't either. I really don't. I was just trying to break the ice, make sure everybody felt comfortable. It's always the ones that you don't expect to be funny that's actually funny. But like,
We need a good joke. We
you
that's
do.
something we'll take away from today. Find one good joke that you can tell at the drop of a hat.
Yes, I need that. I need that. All right. Since it's about 6 o'clock, we're gonna get started. Good afternoon, everybody. Thank you so much for joining us. My name is Cindy Luke. I'm one of the career coaches here at Pearview. Thank you for joining the Ignite Level 2 Mastery in Motion. It is the 2026 year. So before we begin, we're going to have a couple of housekeepings. This is the week 5, so we're going to know the room before you move. Let me see if I can close this or move this. I'm sorry, y'all. This thing is bothering me. Ooh. All right. So for this week, we're only going to have it for today and tomorrow because July 4th is when everybody is going to be popping out their fireworks. So I hope you guys have fun this Saturday. So we will not be having a Thursday or Saturday session, just today and tomorrow. You guys remember, you're here at 6 today, tomorrow at 7. If you guys are aware of anybody who you feel like would benefit from this session, please tell them to join. The Zoom session does lock after 15 minutes, so they have 14 minutes. All right. The next competencies that you guys will be learning is communication and professionalism. For this week's expectations and a requirement to attend at least once this week, please make sure that you have your camera on at all times unless given permission by Michelle Jones. Please, if you could just make sure that you update your Zoom name to your first and last name, and then make sure you put your first and last name as well as your PVID in the chat. Make sure that you guys are completing your weekly Canvas assignment. There are a max of 3 questions for incentive eligibility. Today, we are going to have Miss Lisa Williams from the Dow Chemical Company. She is a Pearview alum coming here to benefit you guys and make you guys aware of the company. And then we have an incentive reminder. So make sure that if you join 10 plus sessions, you get $200. 7 to 9, it's 100. 50 for 4 to 6, and then 25. That is a drawing. And then all incentives will be given out September 3rd. You also have to complete your weekly Canvas assignments to be eligible. Miss Williams, take it away. Let me stop sharing.
Wonderful, Cindy. Thank you very much. Thank you. And very nice to sort of see and see everyone this evening. Thank you for taking the time to join. Of course, it's certainly for all of our benefit, but still, it's time out of your calendar. So thank you for choosing this session. Know the room before you go. And I'll be sharing my screen here. So let me go ahead and focus and do that. And let's see here. Yes, and it looks like I've got the right privilege. And am I sharing the presentation now?
Yes, you are.
Okay, and I'm going to put it into presentation mode. Cindy, can you see the presentation mode?
I can.
Excellent. All right. All right, and let me see. So, know the room before you move. Introducing myself, I am a class of 1997 graduate of PV in the College of Engineering. I have a in of science and mechanical engineering. And the whole purpose for tonight is really exactly what the title says, but a bit more. knowing the room before you move, and it's really knowing any situation. So it could be a room, a group of people, one other person, a meeting you're walking into, a project you are about to start, or maybe you've been working on it for a while and it needs to take a different direction. Anytime you need to be prepared to provide a solution, better understand a situation or a problem, and you've got to work with other people, which is almost all of the time. It's very important you try to learn as much as you can about a situation and the people that are going to be involved in it before you first encounter the situation. The better prepared you are, the more likely you will be successful in that situation. That's really what tonight is all about. We're going to use the example of preparing for a meeting, going into a conference room and being ready to engage a group of people, but the lessons are applicable in many different spaces. Okay? I think the next slide, let me advance. This is me. I have been away from Prairie View for a little while. I've been working at Dow most of my career. I had some internships that don't add up to this 28 years of service in the chemical manufacturing industry. Interestingly enough, today is my 28th anniversary at Dow, June 29th. So June 29th, 28 years ago, I was starting at the company. And if I could drop one piece of learned perspective, I dare say advice, when you do graduate, be sure to take a little bit of time, as much time as your next opportunity will allow, and take that time off to really enjoy that time off. I've been very blessed to work 28 years with a company that I love. But working is very different once you start it, and you're going to be doing it until retirement. So very excited to celebrate today's my 28th anniversary with the company. And as you can see, I've worked in quite a few different spaces around the company over 28 years: engineering and construction, manufacturing operations, supply chain, IT, continuous improvement, even doing contract labor and other workforce strategy, which is where I've landed right now. What's not shown here is I left Prairie View and went to Penn State to get a master's in manufacturing management. And in 1997, 1998, it wasn't an MBA. It was a combination between a Master of Engineering and a Master of Business, specifically toward the supply chain profession, which was just being created about that time. So I was fortunate to be at the beginning of a new profession that really teaches you about systems thinking that has helped me to evolve my career, which you can see in some of my career values, one of them being systems thinking, inclusive collaboration, people investment, and results delivery. So again, I was uniquely suited to try and deliver this session with you today, but I do want to encourage you to ask questions, chime in, provide your own thoughts and opinions and insights, because this session will be so much better if it's a bit collaborative and more discussion. Okay. So I can't see you, but I'm looking at Cindy. And so Cindy, if you see someone in chat, say something or raise a hand, just wave to me and I'll stop in the moment and we'll address that. I do have a bit of a disclaimer. All the opinions and ideas are solely my own, and they do not reflect the Dow Chemical Company in any way. This is just perspective and advice, and it is not being delivered in a professional way. If you ever have questions about taking some of this and modifying it in a professional environment, you certainly want to seek out legal counsel as it's appropriate with your company and maybe your role. All right. So if there are no other questions about any of that, know the room before you move. A few thoughts just to help us get started. First of all, success isn't just about doing great work. And there are many people that could give you examples in saying, yeah, I had a good career, or I had a decent career, but they may stop short of saying I had a great career because they didn't understand some of these rules of the road, some of these unwritten rules that happen in most corporations, or not just corporations, but all sorts of working environments and work groups. You have to do good work, but there's more that comes with that. And today, doing good work means more about networking and access and how you collaboratively bring people together to share ideas and innovate and drive for unique new results. And in order to do that, you've got to know the people around you and you've got to know something about them. You must be aware of the environment you're in and recognize who in that environment holds the influence. And we'll talk about the difference between titles and influence in a few minutes. You also have to understand in your organization how decisions are made. What are the mechanics of the decisions? What are the drivers of those decisions? And then who, the people in the organization that will truly make the decision, and maybe not the perception of who's making the decisions. And then, of course, you always want to position yourself where the opportunity is flowing. If you don't know where the opportunity is flowing, you can't position yourself to take advantage of it. I'll give you one of my Prairie View examples, which is very relevant for the group that's hosting this call. When I was a junior at Prairie View in the College of Engineering, I had the opportunity to do a work study, and I had the option to pick which office I did work study. So I selected the College of Engineering's scholarship office. I'm not sure if the College of Engineering still has a scholarship office, but back then they did. And if I was working in the office, what do you think that meant about the information that was coming to that office? And I want to solicit responses. So I can't see you, but
I would say like the information could be kind of confidential because it's like student record, student information.
that's a good idea. I did not have access to student record information. So think about the other side of that. Think about the employers and the other organization who were bringing scholarship opportunities to Prairie View. Think about the other side. So if I'm working in the office, what might be the benefit of working in that office?
You get access to scholarship opportunities first.
Absolutely. I saw all the scholarships first, or at least one of the first people to see them. And listen, some people may think that's unfair, and I get that. However, it did not decide, fairness and unfairness didn't decide whether or not I worked in that office. And I was an A student, by the way, while I was at Prairie View. So I had to apply for those scholarships just like anyone else. But because I was in the path of opportunity, the likelihood of my applications, just the volume, the sheer volume of how many I applied for, and the fact that maybe every now and then the companies who were actually bringing the scholarships to Prairie View were also coming through to give talks like this one. And remember, this is before high proliferation of the internet. So there was still a lot of in-person, face-to-face visiting of corporate representatives to the College of Engineering. I got access to all of that, right? So you've got to figure out where opportunity flows in whatever organization or entity you're working in, and then you've got to position yourself within it. Doing great work alone is never enough. You have to be able to be aware about what opportunities are, and that awareness will help you create opportunity for yourself or your team or whatever it is that you're working on. Okay, so I'm going to pause. Any other comments or questions? And right now I see an iPhone, so I can't see Cindy anymore. Okay. All right, I'm going to keep pushing along. All right, so when you're thinking about whatever group you are about to engage, and when I say about, I don't mean you're standing outside of a conference room and you're about to walk in and see them for the first time. I mean the first time you join an organization. And again, it could be a company, it could be a nonprofit, it could be academia, any organization that you would become a part of. It could be the first day or week that you join that organization, the first few months, or maybe you've been there for a while, but you're getting a new project. And so now you're about to encounter a new and different group of people for the first time. It is very important to learn this lesson. Authority does not equal influence. Just because someone has a leader, manager, director role title, or some other, seemingly important title within their job, you should not assume that that is the person that is always going to make the decisions and will actually overshadow or over influence the rest of the decision makers in that group. Authority is a formal power. It's a title, it's a role within an organization. Yes, it has merit. Yes, it has weight and bearing, but it is not the only measure. Influence is informal power. It is the trust and relationships and credibility individuals and teams build when they do good work and can be trusted with good judgment and working integrity to do good work. A leader who has both authority and influence is an incredibly powerful leader in an organization. And I didn't say good or bad. I just said who has both the title and the influence. Okay. Some people have authority without influence, and others have massive influence without a formal title. The earlier in your career, whatever that may be, you can learn the difference between the two of these and learn to observe the people in your organization and how they move and operate, so you can figure out who are the authority holders, who are the influential leaders, which people have both, which people have neither, and learn to identify those people. Your understanding of how to effectively influence an organization will become a strategic advantage for you. And I love this graphic because you've got this character who's sitting down looking up at the other character who totally seems like they are very confident and maybe a little full of themselves. And even the character that's sitting down, even though they don't have all the facial features, you can pretty much see that that character is kind of over the other one. So that certainly happens, right? That certainly happens. Questions or comments about authority not equaling influence? Okay. Now, again, if you've got an example of where you've seen this, I know some of you are on internships or co-ops, and maybe you've observed some of this. Even if you don't completely understand what it is, now would be a really good time to share for the benefit of your other classmates who are here. Okay, nobody's sharing today? Not yet. Okay, I'm just going to press on. It's also important to next learn how decisions actually get made in your organization. Decisions are shaped by priorities, not just information and data alone. For example, within the university system at Prairie View A&M University, there's a lot of funding that comes to the university. But all of that funding does not come from the state of Texas. All of that funding does not come from the Texas A&M Board of Regents. All of that funding does not come from billionaires like Mackenzie Scott. And depending on the source of the funding for your university, for our university, it gets used and applied in different ways. And before any of that happens, before the application of those funds that it takes to run Prairie View gets used, information and insights and data are coupled with the priorities of the university. And if you're wondering about what the priorities of Prairie View are, you should watch Dr. LeGrand's strategic blueprint for the university that she outlined, I believe, third or fourth quarter of last year, late 2025, and she reiterated in a couple of ceremonies earlier this year. Those are the priorities of the university. So once the head of an organization communicates those priorities, you should be able to follow decisions that have been made after the strategy has been set or the blueprint and the priorities have been set. The decisions that come along after that more than likely support the priorities and the strategy. Not always, because things do change, but in general, that's what happens. So if you can get really good at learning your organization or your team and what the future priorities might be, it will help you shape your work and your efforts and the people you connect with based on their either authority and or influence to help shape the work you are going to drive and deliver. Part of what also helps decisions get made is a risk tolerance that drives what gets approved. So within Prairie View's strategic blueprint, there are some parts of the strategy that may be perceived as more risky than others. So that risk assessment of what do we think is going to work and what we don't think is going to work, that plays into decisions that actually get approved to use university funding to be implemented. And you better believe relationships determine whose ideas get heard. So you've got over the next decade, tens of millions, $100 million that are going to flow through this university that has to be decided upon. And Dr. LeGrand has to be able to trust the people around her that they are going to move and work with integrity and bring her good information, good insights to help make decisions about what work gets done, where those dollars will flow to. So the relationships that she has with the people on her leadership teams absolutely matter. And many of the roles on her leadership teams have to be authorized by her. So this is just human nature. Humans who are leading organizations, humans that are leading project teams, we tend to want to work with people that we either respect and or trust. It's better when you have both in some way, that we have been able to build some sort of connection and relationship with. Because as things change in the course of work, we've got to be able to trust we can at least communicate with that other person or communicate with that team to the best interest of the overall organization. Timing matters and context shifts everything. And this is just a matter of building situational awareness when you are working, right? It's helpful to know Dr. LeGrand has a strategic blueprint for the for Prairie View. It's helpful to know that every quarter she has to provide an update to the Board of Regents and the Board of Trustees and work in partnership with them as well as the rest of the university to keep decisions and the work with those decisions moving. And as the world around us changes, sometimes those decisions have to change. So again, timing matters, context shifts everything. It's very important for Dr. LeGrand, all of her leadership team, the Board of Regents, the Board of Trustees, to be very well aware of not only everything that's happening at Prairie View, but everything that's happening in the rest of the world outside of Prairie View that connects to or impacts Prairie View. Because again, it helps them keep or maybe adjust some of the decisions they're making. And the best positioned ideas, hopefully with the most data, the most information, the most insights, and the best collaboration, will win. But that is not always the case. This is the real world. And sometimes the people with the best mouthpieces win. So you want to make sure that you understand all of these dynamics. So when it's your responsibility to play into this equation and provide insight that will create good influence toward good decisions, you've done it because you've done the good work and you've made genuine connections. The best position idea wins, not always the best idea. Comments or questions about that?
Hello. Can you hear me?
Ford? Yes.
Hi, yeah. I'm Ford Blunt, and now senior mechanical engineering major here at Prairie View. I had one question. So, if you understand sort of like how decisions are being made and everything like that, and you've like put like a lot of your effort or most of your effort into this one decision, or this one choice, and it's about to be made, and then something comes and derails that decision entirely, like there's an update that was unforeseen, like there's a massive boom in this other technology that your team like has to move toward. How do you like maneuver with that, you know?
Sure. A succinct recommendation I offer right now: when you are working on something, anything, and you are working toward a solution, it's always good to have one or two backup solutions that lean into slightly different factors that create your scenario, the scenario you're working on. And again, having this breadth of people and ideas and information that you can tap into should help you develop some alternative ideas or even approaches to the idea you're pushing. You just got to have options. You got to learn how to create options. And when the options don't fare, you've got to learn to be resilient and say, okay, my idea or my team's idea was not received, or now I know it's not going to work. How do I quickly pivot? How do we quickly pivot? Resilience is the name of the game. Thank you, Ford. Anyone else? Okay. We can always back to something, you all. I'm just going to keep it moving. Okay. Part of really understanding this dynamic before you even get started means that you need to do a little bit of work. And this is something I still do to this day. I create a stakeholder and power map. And don't overanalyze it, don't overthink it. You can find hundreds of examples of stakeholder and power maps, between Google or Chat GPT, and pick your favorite AI engine or your search engine to see what they look like. All you're trying to do is figure out, based on the org chart, let's start there, and the titles of the people in the room, there is always going to be one central person to make the final decision. Who are the people around that decision maker that will be providing input? And they could be providing input either because they are an influencer to the priorities, the organization, the work, the project, you name it, or they are a stakeholder, meaning they have something to gain or lose in whatever this work initiative might be. There are other roles in a stakeholder and power map. These are these two simplest ones. And this visual is showing different kinds of arrows pointing in different directions. Sometimes they move in squiggly lines and there's not a direct path, because this is exactly how work happens. It's very unpredictable. It is going to be maneuveristic. It's going to move around. You're going to have to pull different pieces of information and people from different places and try to align them and get them together on a central idea or concept. And that's okay. That's why you've been hired to do your job. Putting some effort forth, though, to try and visualize this dynamic, literally with people's names and titles, if that's where you have to start, and even using that carefully with other people you trust in your organization to better help you understand the people and the roles involved in the decision making and how they might be interacting with each other, and ultimately how they will drive the decision making process. I have literally been doing this for 28 years, and it has always given me an advantage. There is a lot of ways that you can approach this. I'm just giving you a very quick snippet tonight, but know that this is a real key to initially being successful in your work. And it is absolutely a game changer for your work being successful. Now, let me pause and see if there are any questions or comments or examples of this you would like to share. Okay, no takers? Okay, I will keep going. We always come back. Now, literally, the next step will be mapping the room before you move.
Ms.
In
Williams,
this, oh, yes, Cindy?
we have a question.
Okay, I'll go back.
She said, Arya says, would this same map apply to positions working with public and policies?
Absolutely. This is any organization, any entity, any group of people that are responsible for something and have to come together to make a decision or create a plan of influence to help somebody else make a decision. Absolutely. This is like politics 101. and believe any organization you ever participate in, whether you are working, volunteering, it does not matter. Every organization has a political element to it. Every organization. And politics is not a bad thing. It's only when people distort politics for disingenuous gain and non-equitable ways that politics become hurtful. Politics is not a bad word, and it is not a bad enablement. Thank you for that.
She added and said she's only asking because working with the public and policies are both influence.
Yes, yes. They are both influence. And when you are working with public policy, who is the stakeholder? Well, the easiest stakeholder to identify is the public that will hopefully be the beneficiary of the policies this organization is putting in place. But there are many stakeholders to public policy. I'll give you an example. In let's say the city of Houston, we've got insurance companies, homeowner insurance companies that are pulling out of the city of Houston because it's getting too expensive to insure homes and automobiles. Okay. Well, that's not good for me as a resident of Houston because it means it's harder for me to find insurance that is affordable for my home and car if fewer providers exist. So the state of Texas or even the city of Houston can develop policies to try and influence legislation that forces insurance companies to cover the city of Houston if they are going to offer services elsewhere in the southeast of Texas. Just giving you an example. I tried to pick something I thought everybody might be able to relate to. If you got a house, a car, parents, like you've ever lived in a house or car, you got insurance. That probably hits at least most of us. I don't want to assume it's all of us. Excellent question. Thank you for bringing that. Are there any others? Okay, I'm trying to watch my time. Okay, we can always, okay, well, we can always come back. As you think about getting ready to go into that room, right? The example room. You really do need to have done some networking, a little bit of homework to try and try to identify who is the actual decision maker for this room where this meeting is about to happen, this project, this community event, this policy that we're developing, whatever the thing is, there is one actual decision maker. And you have, once you identify that decision maker, you're trying to figure out who's influencing the decision maker. And it's not like you can go up to everybody and ask them these list of questions, outright, and expect people to tell you this information. A lot of times they're probably trying to figure it out themselves. But there are things you can do, observations you can make to try and assess, both on your own and through talking to other people, how to identify the decision makers and influencers in any group. Again, this is something that you can do just a little bit of research on your own to get some good examples of how to do that. You need
Ms.
to
Williams,
ask. Oh, yes.
I have a
Yes.
question. Do you believe in the term? Do you believe in the term? It's not always what you know, but who you know.
That's a really good example of what we're talking about right now. Yes, that's exactly that. That term is exactly this. Yes. Yes. And I believe it is very important for me to know what I'm supposed to know. Let me start there. It is my responsibility to make sure what I'm supposed to know, I know, and I'm good at what I know, so that I can be credible and trustworthy, and I can present good ideas, because I've, number two, after I know what I know, have connected with other people who know what they know. And they are good, responsible people that know what they know. And we are all coming now with credibility. There are many people in this world who depend on their relationships, and they don't know a rock from a hole in the ground. And yes, it is unfair, because based on who they know and whatever other privileges they have been afforded, they get to navigate this society without having to work as hard as others. Yes, it happens. Okay. So you have to make a personal decision about which one of those roads you're going to travel. Thank you, Danielle, for that. Appreciate that. This is a very honest question, and I hope I gave a honest answer. Okay. Who will be impacted by the decision? That is also important. As I just gave you the example about the insurance scenario and the residents of Houston, sometimes the biggest influencers are the people or the teams who are going to be impacted by the decision. And even if the singular final decision maker makes a decision, and then later on the masses are not happy about it, something is going to have to change if the masses, the people, have enough influence over that organization. And the example popping into my mind right now would be some of the boycotts that happened with some of the diversity and inclusion and equity flashbacks, pushbacks we experienced in 2024 and 2025, and what happened particularly with Target when they started to remove their inclusion suppliers and vendors from their shelves, and how, masses of people started to boycott Target. Okay. Target eventually responded. I have not kept up exactly with what happened, but I do remember reading some reputable articles about them changing some of their policies. They became policies, which are legally binding processes in an organization or a government entity. They started to change some of their policies to become more inclusive again, because their sales were being impacted. Okay. So the people or the entities that will be impacted by the decision also have power. And if you're going to bring good solutions to your organization, it's because you've also done the homework to know that the decision, who that decision will ultimately impact, will be well received by that audience. Okay. So it's not just knowing the people in this room, but it's also knowing whoever the people in this room are making decisions for, be them customers, community members, students at a university, faculty and staff at a university, you name it, they are going to need to be served in the way that they like to be served. You need to know what these people care about, extenuating, yes, the end users or the customers or the student, whoever the ultimate impacted entity is, you need to be concerned about what they're concerned about. That's why we have customer surveys and loyalty surveys and supplier surveys and all focus groups. You're trying to get insight. But when you're talking about a project I'm working on in my company, I've got this group of leaders that are making a decision about something they've asked me to work on. Before you even get to this room, weeks, months ago, you should have been connecting with each one of these people to understand their individual priorities and how they come together in this bigger group, so that you can at least start to get some connection, building some individual credibility with them, and trying to get some of their needs and priorities built into the solution you are creating for this broader team. Yes, that's possible. That's how work and business gets done and politics gets done. So you need to take some time, which means all of this is not something that happens overnight. All of this is planning. From the first time you learn about this new work project you have until weeks or months in advance when you're going to be expected to deliver some part or all of the solution, there's a lot of connecting, talking, asking questions, giving feedback, interaction that needs to happen along the way. Because as you're doing that, you are also learning how to craft and refine and align your position, your pitch, your approach, your message to this audience. So there's a greater likelihood your idea will be accepted and approved. And this is what strategy looks like. Strategy is taking all of that, the work, seeing the answer, and aligning your message and the work to meet the audience and getting them to agree.
Oh, Miss Williams, we have two
Yes.
comments. So
Yes.
Ariel Reed had said, and it's about who knows you. And Natina said, a network change, so to speak. Even if it's someone on the same level as you with different opportunities, can come and share with one another. You may never know where you may land.
Absolutely. You
Sorry.
should always thank you for that comment. Networking is not always about networking vertically to everyone above you in the organization. It is absolutely about networking in all directions and dimensions. The peers at your level, other workers that may be behind you in experience or years with this organization. Yes, you should network in 360 degrees. Absolutely. Absolutely. It has served me incredibly well in my career. And a note on networking. Networking is always bi-directional, two-directional. You give something, you receive something. When you meet people, you are introducing yourself, you are sharing ideas, or as you are asking them questions to get to know them, to get to know the work, the projects, whatever, you always want to come with some perspective, something to offer as well. Make developing those relationships two-way, bi-directional. That builds credibility. It also builds trust. Was there a second comment, Cindy?
The second comment was, and it's who knows you.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. And absolutely, it's who knows you. Absolutely. I have an example slide for that in just a little bit. Now, this is about delivering measurable results. None of that other stuff I just said matters if you are not delivering tangible results, no matter how small the task, no matter how small the assignment, no matter how small the project. Eventually, they will grow over time as you build more skill, more experience, more credibility. No one cares about the work you've done unless it delivered measurable results that the organization needed and expected. And Please understand that this is a very familiar environment with me. Speaking to you all is like speaking to family, so I am not sugarcoating, right? It is important to get work experience and other volunteer experiences and build skills. It's important to do all of that, absolutely. When it comes to whatever you are doing in life to receive income, I'll put it that way, it is important for you to be able to do these things. Quantify your contributions whenever possible. Use numbers, percentages, and timelines. Show the before and after impact. This is what it looked like when I started. By the time I finished, here's how it improved. This is starting to sound like the coaching you receive in a resume, right? It's exactly how you should show up in your job and how you deliver. Make sure you are connecting your work to the business outcomes. It doesn't matter if you fix something that no one asked you to fix. You've got to connect your work to the business outcomes to be deemed a success. So another examples, cost savings, efficiency gains, revenue growth. If you can't measure it, it's hard to position it and yourself as a results deliverer. And that is absolutely what you must be. You must be a results deliverer. Okay, I'm pausing for questions or comments. Okay, maybe a lot of this is just really straightforward. So I want to get to positioning your work for impact. And I mentioned I was going to share this slide in a couple of slides. I have been very intentional in the last, well, all of my career, let me be honest. I learned a lot of this information I'm sharing with you at Prairie View. Okay, yes, more than 28 years ago, a lot of this information I learned at Prairie View. And I'm very proud to say I consistently put it into practice. Over the last 5 years, 5-6 years post-pandemic, I've become more intentional about putting it into practice because I am approaching retirement eligibility, or at least what I'll consider my first retirement, at 30 years of service. And I fully expect to have a whole second career after this one. And if you all haven't noticed, in the last even 12 months, the world has changed significantly. Our technology and computing capabilities and artificial intelligence have significantly changed the world we live in, and it is going to keep changing it even faster. You cannot afford to be afraid of that. None of us can. So as I am very late in my first career, I could easily say, 30 years of service, I'm going to retire, I'm done. No, that's not the case. And I have been intentionally positioning myself not only to be impactful still in the organization I'm in, but as I prepare for my next chapter. So I make sure the results that I create and drive are very visible to the right people. In my case, both inside and outside of Dow Chemical. I communicate in the language of many different audiences, okay? Not just one or two, many different audiences. And I do not suffer from imposter syndrome. And it meaning I have no problem telling you all the great things that I've done and the wins that I've created and giving updates and reviews. Now, granted, I am 28 years in this game. I wasn't always this confident, but I learned it over time. And I am being very candid in telling you, if you do have imposter syndrome or any little pieces of it, meaning sometimes you don't think you're quite good enough, or maybe I need to build this skill or this experience, or I'm not ready to meet that person, that's perfectly human, perfectly normal. It happens to all of us. But I encourage you very seriously to find ways, peer groups, assistance, and help in understanding some of those imposter syndrome feelings we might have sometime, and really learning how to do things to build your confidence and overcome that. That's just the world we live in right now. I see the hand. I see the hand. I'll come back in just a second. Let me just hit these next couple of bullets. Building advocates who understand your value. That's important in the networking and building those relationships and that credibility, having people that will speak on your behalf in a good ways when you're not even there. And certainly don't wait to be discovered. Always be positioning yourself. So after the session today, if you go check out my LinkedIn page, I think a lot of this will be really good examples of what I mean. Now I'll take the hand that I saw raised.
Okay, so we have two questions. So the
Yes.
first question was there ever a moment where you feared sharing your accomplishments? If so, how did you overcome it?
I have to go back really early in my career. And maybe one of my mentors told me this, or it was an idea that I had, but somehow I figured out people in my organization need to know the good stuff I'm doing because they need my help, just like I need their help. And if I'm not telling them what I'm doing and what I'm doing well and what I'm confident at, I'm actually doing a disservice both to me and them. People need you. They need the goodness that you know, your passion, your motivation. They need you to learn new stuff. So that's how once I realized some of us, we have imposter syndrome because, well, there are a lot of different reasons. Once you realize the world actually needs you, you get a little bit more comfortable about bringing what you know and what you bear to the community. That's just a real quick way I can explain it.
Okay. And then I'll say the last question. I think I saw someone raise their hand. What was your TED Talk about?
It was about fear, and it is pinned on my LinkedIn page. It's about overcoming fear, demystifying fear, more specifically to the title. And it's exactly that. It's about understanding where fear comes from and what it looks like and how it shows up in your life personally. So then you can start to learn to understand it and then deal with it so you can move through it and overcome it. If people don't understand your impact, they can't advocate for you. As a leader in my organization, and I've been a leader a bunch of different times, leaders are always looking for good people who know what they're doing and want to work and collaborate and generate great ideas with other people and advocate for themselves. Because if it's easier for me to see you, it makes it easier for me as a leader to do my job. If I can see your talent, it makes it easier for me to do my job. And trust me, I have helped a lot of leaders see me and worked myself into some really good opportunities. I see a hand raised.
So
Yes.
one comment and one question. Has being overly confident ever worked against you?
I'm sure it has. There have been a couple of situations where I've received feedback that my confidence was not arrogance. It was just difficult for an audience to receive me. And I took that feedback. I got it. And I made a decision if I wanted to participate with that audience or not. Every cup of tea is not your cup of tea. And while you certainly want to be open to feedback, I mean, genuinely open to feedback, you have to balance that with not allowing people to dim your light. There, I said it. What was the second question or comment?
Any advice on being able to cross community with different audience? My apologies if you already spoke on this.
Yes, actually, it's the next slide. Navigate with integrity. Be authentic in every interaction. Build relationships before you need them. Your reputation is your most valuable asset. And in the days of social media, I don't know that we all understand how serious that really is. Your reputation is your most valuable asset. And when you think no one is watching, someone might be watching, or some device might be watching. Strategy is not manipulation, it's awareness and leading with integrity and letting your results speak. So when you are interacting with different groups, if you do these things and you are genuinely coming to people because first you want to learn, you want to connect, you want to find some mutual connection and benefit, and maybe you don't want some mutual benefit, you truly want to serve, right? All of those are great. Think about if someone comes to you that way. How does it make you feel? So the ways that you want people to genuinely come to you for good is exactly how you should go to other people and other organizations.
We do have
Was there
some
a second?
Yeah, there
Yeah.
is one.
Okay.
So there's two. So congrats on celebrating 28 years. What has been your method slash key to your longevity in your company?
Exactly the topic I'm talking about today. I am not even joking. And my company right now is going through some significant restructuring, which is very public. And I, being 28 years with the company, could have easily been someone to get restructured out of the company. I'm a little expensive. So the fact that, but that didn't happen, right? A lot of the positioning and messaging and thought leadership sharing you see me doing on LinkedIn for the last 2 years have been very intentional because I knew some of this cultural and labor market business strategy economic dynamic was going to come in 2026. No, I didn't have a crystal ball, but I've been working in an industry for a long time. And I wanted to make sure I positioned myself to be as resilient as possible. So, literally today, in my 28th anniversary, in a company that is going through a massive, deep restructure, and I've navigated myself into another role, is absolutely because I've been operating for the last 28 years exactly how I'm sharing with you today.
So someone asked, how did you see a value or growth in what you're doing? Everyone else has been able to see my growth, but sometimes I downplay it because I don't think it's enough.
Yes. Again, when I was at Prairie View, I was in the National Society of Black Engineers, which at that time, and I think still is, the largest student-run organization, right, in the country. And we learned a lot about just self-awareness and confidence and learning and believing that what you learn and you do and the work you do and you as a person matter. So I think I had a shorter learning curve to traverse. And I had a lot of friends, family members, and friends who were just wonderfully encouraging and nurturing. And I only encircle myself with those kind of people. And we're not flattering each other because we also hold one another accountable. But we celebrate one another a lot because we have reason to. So whether you are doing that work, inner work on yourself, and you need some good people that you trust as accountability partners, and maybe even some services, whether you're going through student services or employer services, employee assistance programs and other programs to help you build confidence, invest in all of those things because life is too short. Life is too short for you to get in your own way of meeting your full potential. Life is too short for that. So I don't know if there's another question or comment, but ChatGPT created this comic book example of what we've been talking about. If you don't remember anything else from tonight, hopefully this visual will give you the example of preparing to engage an audience and thinking about all the different roles and people in that meeting, whether they are authority, title labeled or influential leadership, and building a plan to engage with them, and then being confident enough to do so. When you've got a proposal, be willing to share it. Find the people either outside of that meeting that are willing to listen to you, and build up to eventually getting into that meeting. Confidently share your idea, and also generate an air of feedback and collaboration in the moment when you're delivering, so that you are building trust and credibility even in that moment. Ask for help, whether it's in that moment or after, right? You can see it in the cartoon. She's asking for tech assistance, and the person says, absolutely, I'd love to help you. Let's talk. And then you see when she's leaving, there are people clapping around the table, because even though there's more work to do, they clearly appreciated the way she showed up. She exits the meeting, they're still clapping, and then she goes away and she's thinking, okay, I handled that well. However, there are a few things I maybe could have improved upon, or certainly some next steps I need to take quickly now that I've got that good momentum from the people in the room. All right. And I'm just going to check. I did have some discussion questions, but I know we're at time. It's 7 o'clock. So these 3 questions real quick. What feels hardest right now? How will you position your work differently? And what will your future self thank you for? So as I officially close the presentation, I just want you, I'm going to stay here as long as, the team will let me stay here. But I just want you all to know, as a fellow alum, right, I am so proud of you. I am excited for your future, and I want to invest in you. That's why I'm here. And I certainly wish you all the best of luck. Please connect with me on LinkedIn. I use that platform very seriously. And if you are using it, great. If not, I encourage you to get active on it soon. And I'm happy to engage with you all after the session today. So I'll go back to the questions and I will pause. Cindy, you see any activity? Okay.
Not yet. I was gonna say you guys are able to unmute and talk about your experience. It doesn't have to just be internship related. It could be school related, because everything you guys learn in the classroom can travel into the workforce. So if something is feeling hard right now, or you don't know how to work it out, just you can talk about it, and we can give you as best an input as possible.
Mm-hmm. And I put the questions in the chat just in case. I think I stopped sharing, right?
No, you're still sharing, but Anastasia, you can go ahead.
Hello, everyone. Take my hand down. Hi, everyone. My name is Anastasia Clark. I'm a senior accounting major at Prairie View, and I am interning with Corebridge Financial this summer as an individual retirement intern. What feels hardest for me right now, honestly, is I have about, I want to say, 5 projects due this summer. Most of them are small, but the big one I'm working on today, I just started my research for today. So I want to, before I get overwhelmed with the projects and due dates and things like that, I want to ask, how would you suggest that I kind of organize what needs to be done, and like the priorities and things like that?
Yes. I don't mean to use AI for everything, but two quick recommendations. Number 1, 4 weeks before you end your internship, you should be building the presentations that you are going to deliver in 4 weeks at the end of your internship. Usually that's a requirement. Is that a requirement for you, Anastasia?
Yes, I have
I
have an individual project, and I also have a group project that I'll be doing.
Okay. And did your employer give you example presentations from previous years, like student presentations, as a guide?
This is my second summer with this company.
Okay.
So I have my own presentation as an example, and I have past intern examples.
Okay, great. For me, what helps me organize my thoughts even as I'm learning sometimes is building the presentation, even if most of the slides are empty, because it's about storytelling. And even though you don't have the answer yet, you're already building pieces of the story. That helps me. And it also helps you not cram to put your presentation together at the end of your internship, because you've been building the story the entire way. And I'm a visual person, so seeing the presentation build and come to life gives me new ideas about the project and the work itself. That's number one. Number two, I've taken a few prompt engineering classes for ChatGPT and Copilot and Claude and whatever your organization is using. And I literally go in and describe my projects to as much detail as I can off the top of my head, what I know about the projects. And then I ask whatever that, engine is, ChatGPT or the like, to build a priority plan for me based on what I've told it. And I'm working inside the Dow Chemical Company, so it also goes and searches other information that might be related to my project and comes back with recommendations of what's important, how to structure it, and even gives me ideas on how to structure that presentation I mentioned a few minutes ago. You've got to learn to use the tools that are available to you.
Thank you so much.
Sure. Great question. Thank you for asking. Great question.
We can take one or two more comments and then we'll wrap up with some final things. I don't want to keep anybody late. I know it's a school night. So if there's anybody else who has any comments, questions, concern, burning passions. All right, since that is all, let's go over the last couple slides. Can you guys see my screen?
There's one last comment on here. I don't mean to interrupt.
Yeah, go ahead.
Yes, ma'am. It's from Aria. I don't know if I'm saying that right, but she says my hardest feeling is that I'll always be stuck in minimum wage positions and having to become the woman I need to be to enter certain rooms.
Okay, so let me stop sharing my screen so y'all can see Lisa, and she can answer that question.
Oh, you can hear me, right?
Yes.
What you're describing is absolutely what career services is for, as well as what's the other program at Prairie View? PV Cares. Is that right?
Yes.
Again, there are lots of resources available to you on campus for a lot of different topics. I don't have time to explore that very deep question tonight, but please go to Career Services and PV Cares. There are lots of folks there waiting to talk to you about that.
Most definitely. Aria, if you could reach out to Michelle Jones and ask her who your career coach is based off of your major, we can connect you guys because we are here all summer. Just because it's the summertime, we are here working 8 to 5. So we can come we can come help you out. All right, Precious, you will be my last one, and then we're gonna continue on. All right.
Okay, hi, my name is Precious. I just had a question. I am a senior at Prairie View for criminal justice right now, and so I'm currently changing my major after I graduate. Well, I'll be going to school for engineering, and I just wanted to know, like, what steps did you take to find your niche in engineering? I'm trying to find what's like, what I feel for, but it's kind of still hard to, navigate that.
Okay. I was different. I knew I was going to be an engineer when I was 10 years old. It was different. Okay. But I will say again, this is a perfect question for career coaching and career services, because they can give you relevant information and resources for right now. And you are welcome to connect with me on LinkedIn, and we can certainly have a conversation. But y'all, please use the resources that are on campus for these questions. Please.
Yes.
They are wonderful.
We're begging you. Begging you. Precious, reach out. If you can go to our Prairie View ANMU You Connect website, you're gonna look for Meet the Team. Right at the top, you're gonna see our whole list of all of our wonderful coaches. Look for Patrick Thomas. He's the career coach for engineering. He's gonna set you up with Type Focus, and that's where it's a career assessment that takes your personality, your skills, your values, and it aligns and sees what jobs matches with you. So if you're like, I definitely want to do engineering, let's find out what type of engineering do you want to do. Maybe it may not be engineering, maybe it's a science thing, maybe you like working with your hands, but taking Type Focus will definitely help you out with that, okay? So just shoot him an email, say you came to Ignite, you want to learn more, can he send you the Type Focus assessment and he can meet with you virtually to go over your results.
Okay,
Okay.
thank you.
Okay, if that's the same thing for everybody else, reach out to your career coach. They are here. We can meet with you virtually, in person, all that types of stuff. Thank you, Dr. Figgins. Thank you. She put the link in the chat for you guys to go ahead and look for your career coach, and we'll help you. We gonna be here. I don't know if anybody gonna be here Friday, but Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday of this week, we will be here. We'll be here. Alrighty. All right, so let me share my screen and then we can get you guys out of here. All right, so to wrap up, you guys know the following dates we have next week are just July 7th and 11th. Protect your peace in your position. Right after that, we have the 13th, 14th, and 18th, Network Like It Actually Matters. And then the 20th, the 21st, and the 25th, Leading Without Waiting for a Title. And then the 27th, 28th, and August 1st, Know Your Worth Before You Sign. And then we do have our Level Up Thursday, which is July 16th and July 30th. So remember, our sessions run from Monday 6 to 7, Tuesday 7 to 8, and then Saturday 11 to 12. And then remember your incentives. If you guys join 10 sessions, you get $200. 7 to 9, $100. 4 to 6, $50. And then 3 plus is $25. Remember to complete your weekly assignments in order to qualify. Attendance is tracked, so make sure that you put your name and your PID in the chat. That's the way we track you guys. All right. And then all incentives will be awarded at the back to school celebration on Thursday, September 3rd at 5 p.m. And here are the details. Go ahead, take a screenshot. You guys will be in the library, room 108. It's going to be great, great, great food. We have our pre-career fair workshops from the 1st to the 10th of September, our career fair. All right, this is what you guys are working for, trying to get is some internships and some jobs. So please make sure you show up, show your face, make sure you bring your friends, drag them. The same way you drag them outside, drag them to the career fair. All right, and then any of you guys who are in the College of Nursing, we guys have that for the 22nd. And then we have our Disney College Program info session on the 30th. And then we have the Elite Panther Employer Leadership Exchange, which will be happening on multiple dates. And then we have our Constellation Inroads Roadshow. All right. Thank you so much for joining. Thank you again to Miss Lisa Williams. Let's give her a round of applause for joining and meeting with us. It was truly a pleasure. I truly and honestly loved this session, and I hope that you guys did too. Please, 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 join her, come see her, come meet with us. This is a blessing that you guys should not let go. Tell y'all friends to join. They don't have to be in an internship, having a job. We want as many of you guys to know how to navigate the workplace because it's so different from being in class. Trust me, I know, because how I used to be acting, I'd be silly and goofy. Can't slide no more. Can't slide. I need to pay bills. Gas is not gas no more. It's not gas. All right, if you guys don't have any questions, you are free to go. Thank you so much. Bye.
Bye. Have a blessed one.
You too.
Thank you.
Did y'all need anything from me?
Yeah.
Awesome.
Hi,
Give
Miss
Kelly
Williams.
the opportunity.
Go.